Come on, son.
Raphael on the track.
Come on, son. Come on, son. Hey, y'all, what's up? This is Ed Lover. You know me, man. This is Come On, Son, the podcast. Welcome back to another one brought to you by cigarsinternational.com. Go to cigarsinternational.com for all your cigar needs. And when you check out, put in ED10 off. That's ED10OFF for 10% off everything that you purchase. Cigarsinternational.com. And, of course, locally here in Atlanta, brought to you by Nissan South in Morrow, 6889 Jonesboro Road. They got the 2018s in there, 2017 certified, owned cars, everything that you need. And if you want a car and they don't have it, believe me, that crew over there will absolutely get this car for you, okay? So Nissan South in Morrow, 6889 Jonesboro Road, cigarsinternational.com. Now, the top 25 cigars of 2017 came out. So you might want to go to cigarsinternational.com and get your cigars because they got each and every one of them. Now, last year, when the top 25 of 2016 came out, with cigarsinternational.com, I made sure I smoked each and every one of the top 25 cigars of 2016. And I'm probably going to do it again in 2018 for the top 25 of 2017. So make sure you go to cigarsinternational.com. When you check out, it's ED10 off. ED10OFF. Now, my guest today on Come On Son, the podcast is a brother that I've had a really, really great a series of great experiences with in my life. He is a DJ. He is one of the greatest DJs that I've ever seen play, bar none. It doesn't matter what city you're from. He is absolutely in the annals. If they just made a DJ Hall of Fame, just strictly on skills, he's absolutely in there, first ballot, in my opinion, okay? There's not many like him on the planet left. He is the mad DJ, and he's also a boxing enthusiast. So today, I thought we would talk hip-hop and boxing, right? We're going to talk a little hip-hop and a little bit of boxing. Welcome to Come On Son, the podcast, my man DJ Nabs in the building.
What's up, my brother? What's up, family?
Hey, tell me how a dude from Durham, North Carolina ends up in Atlanta, Georgia. And why not just stay in Durham, North Carolina?
Man, because I came here and I met a girl named Crystal. That's one of the main catalysts. You know what I'm saying? Now, seriously, my guy, a guy named William Barnes, who I worked with at Burger King at home when we were in high school, he came here and went to DeVry University. And so he graduated after a couple years and brought me down here to DJ his graduation party. And I guess he had been talking about Atlanta, but I was so busy being DJ Nabs in Durham and being the man in Durham and Raleigh and that sort of thing. I wasn't thinking about Atlanta. But when I came here, that was it, man. I mean, we did this party. I met that girl named Kriss-Kross. I came back to Durham, got my records. Me and my best friend came and moved here. Never left.
Really?
Yep.
With no job?
No job. Nah, I ain't need no job. I had my records. I was going to figure out a way.
Now, what were you doing? You were on the radio in Durham?
I mean, I wasn't doing like nothing super major. I was, because I started in high school and I had a little small touring experience with a artist named Frosty. I don't know if we ever talked about this, Ed.
No, we didn't.
Frosty put out an answer record to LL Cool J's record, I Need Love. It was on Tommy Boy Records.
Okay.
I need love now, spelled with 2 L's. I need LL now.
Right.
And that was an answer record. She was from Durham, named
Okay.
Charlene. So I was her DJ. So we did a few shows on the weekends. And that was really my introduction to it. But it was short-lived because, it was a novelty record, and then she didn't want to do any more songs after that. And so after that, I was just kind of running around Durham, just still DJing parties, but not really focused. I didn't really know what else to do. But that's when the opportunity to come to Atlanta happened. I came here, and I was like, it's a big city, black people doing well. I could figure out a way. And even though we didn't have a job, my friend William went to the Army. We had too much free in his apartment that he paid for.
Okay.
So that was the deal.
All right.
My first job in Atlanta was the Amoco gas station up the street from the apartment.
Okay.
On Buford Highway.
All right, so tell me who turned you on to DJing? What did you see? What hit you that made you say, I'm on to DJ?
I put my hands on the vinyl trying to emulate Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel. The beginning part where it says, you see, you see, you see, you see. And my grandma, you know how you used to have those component sets with just, you know, everything in one, you know, one turntable and the radio below that and the 8-track to the side. So I figured out that if I used the volume control to cut it off and I grabbed the record, I could emulate UC, and I take the big knob and cut it off, pull the record back, turn the volume back up, release the record, you see. And then once I figured out that scratch, that's when I said, okay, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
So that
just from listening to Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like as the moment to me, you know, I wasn't mixing. It was like mixing 2 records. I didn't have 2 turntables. It was literally figuring out how did Grandmaster Flash scratch or repeat that phrase, that Spoonie G phrase. You see, 1 for the trouble, right? And that was it.
When did you get your first pair of turntables?
That was, you know, 1984, 10th grade. And I got 1 turntable and 1 Radio Shack realistic mixer. I can't remember what the turntable was. I'm sure it was something really, really cheap. But I do remember.
Did you buy it? Did your parents get it for you?
My father, $40 at a pawn shop. Yep.
Dad set you on your way, didn't he?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
$40 in the pawn shop got you 1 turntable. What was you doing with 1 turntable?
Just scratching. I didn't even understand really the power of mixing 2 records until later. I literally was listening to Flash, and then, of course, Jam Master Jay and Mixmaster Ice from UTFO, and I was listening and deciphering how they were making the sounds with the scratch, and so I practiced scratching.
So that's all you did was scratch?
That's all I did in the beginning.
Did you have a speaker?
Yeah, I had a speaker and a headphones.
Okay.
1 pair of headphones with one side of the head. Like, you only had one side. You know what I mean? It broke off.
It broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just scratch. That's all you did.
That's it.
When did you start? When did you get your other turntable?
Just somewhere down the line. I want to say, I can't remember when I got the other turntable, but I do remember the first time I put my hands on a pair of 1200s, the professional deal.
Right.
And that was, I got an opportunity to mix on Waxmaster Tory, rest in peace, a.k.a. Trey Black. He had the hip-hop radio show in the Carolinas, and he let me come and mix. And he borrowed Generet's turntables. Now, Generet was Shirley Caesar's nephew.
Okay.
And Shirley Caesar was the local celebrity.
Yes.
And so Generet had 1,200 turntables. So that was the first time I used them, and I used them on the floor because Tory didn't have any furniture. So I made a mix for the radio on the floor on the 1200s.
You sitting on the floor?
Yes. And I have that mix to this day.
Wow.
That was 1985.
Wow. So you're sitting on the floor mixing. When did you learn to mix? Because you told me before you were scratching. When did you learn to mix?
Just that was, it came at some point. I can't really remember. Obviously, I had to get another turntable, and I wasn't really that good at mixing at first, but I had become pretty proficient in whatever the latest scratch was really fast.
Right.
So the mixing got to be more important later when I got in college, when the party became a real deal, and nobody wanted to hear all that scratching all night. You could scratch, cool, that's cool for 5-10 minutes, but go ahead and mix in this cameo record or this loose end record, So that was the college experience that got me there, which is North Carolina Central University.
Okay. So you about 14, 15, you scratching.
Yeah.
You learn how to scratch. Your first radio gig came at about, you mixed that mix for the radio?
Yeah, I was 15.
You was 15 years old when you made your first mix for the radio. Right. Do you remember the first party you ever got hired to DJ?
House party next door. Her name was Alma, and I got paid $50 for that.
$50. Yes. Somebody said, hey, let's get this guy right here. He's a local guy.
Yeah. Worked all night, too.
All night?
Man, and it was nothing.
From the beginning of because you was excited.
Yeah.
You were excited. That's funny because you really started DJing on $40 turntables from the pawn shop and a mixer and this, that, and the third. And you remember the first time you touched a pair of 1200s. I started on a pair of 1200s.
Started, wow.
And in total polar opposites to what you were doing, mixing was what we did.
Right.
We didn't scratch. You didn't
right.
You did none of that because the parties that I was used to coming up under, my brother had a club with his 2 friends called the Fog House, and the guy that I learned to DJ from was a guy by the name of Keith Sattler, rest in peace, had a group called Master Sounds, and it was about who had the most equipment,
right?
Who had the most power, who had the most amplifiers, and who could keep the people constantly dancing. So the constant dancing, you had to learn how to mix a record. That's why when they do all of this, I don't even call it DJing anymore. I call it button pushing.
Right.
When they do this 1/4 of the record real quick, and then they out, and then they just talk and press another button and bring another record in from the cue point.
Right.
Bothers the shit out of me, Nabs, because I learned that you don't cut the words off.
Yeah.
We would wait to the break of the record to mix the next record in.
Yeah, they're skipping all over the fundamentals these days. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And you know what's funny about the scratching, too? I had the realistic mixer that did not have the crossfader. So I was learning to scratch with the upfader.
Oh, wow. So ladies and gentlemen, on the mixer, there is a crossfader, okay, that from one turntable to the next turntable, for all of y'all who use your imagination. If the thing is on one side, you're playing one turntable. If you push it over onto the other side, you're listening to the other turntable. Now, back in the days when I learned, they had a GLI mixer, and it was knobs. So you had to turn one knob down while turning the other knob up, and there was no tempo control. On the turntable. On the turntable. You had to use your hand to slow it down. So this one made it a lot more difficult than what he's saying is with the crossfader. He didn't have one. They had up and down volume knobs.
Right.
That you slide up and slide down. So that's what you was learning. You were scratching with the up and down volume knobs.
Right.
Wow.
Which that fader is longer.
Yes,
takes more
much
work.
longer. It takes a lot more work.
Yep.
All right, so let's fast forward. You get out of Raleigh-Durham. The Frosty thing don't work out for you too tough. I mean, it was a great record. You was doing your thing for a little while.
Right.
You come get a DJ gig in Atlanta, and you decide to stay in Atlanta. You're working at the Amico. What happens next for you in your life?
I ended up going.
How old were you then?
So I was that was 1988. So I was 18.
18.
When I moved
out of high school.
Yes.
What did your parents
Well,
say?
out of high school, and then I did a year or so of college at North Carolina Central.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did your parents think? You leaving North Carolina?
My mother had a real problem with it. My father packed my van for me. He's like, he helped me. He put the mattress in there, and the records made sure it.
Was he happy you was leaving?
Oh yeah. I mean, he wanted me to be, do the man.
How many kids are your family?
It's 4 of us, and I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
So I broke my mother's heart, first.
Okay.
By leaving home.
Right. Wow. So your mother's like, no, stay here, go to school, get your degree. And what are you telling your father that you're trying to do?
Well, my father and my mother it wasn't like they looked at hip hop like a real career, but they didn't hold me back from it.
Okay.
So, it wasn't that. It was really that I was leaving Durham, and my mother was just paranoid and worried, and my Uncle Buttons had been killed here in Atlanta.
Oh.
Who I didn't even, I was a child. I just seen pictures of him.
Mm-hmm.
But Uncle Buttons lived here in Atlanta and was murdered here.
Okay.
So that left a bad taste in her mouth.
About Atlanta, period.
About Atlanta, yep.
Okay, so you move in.
And I've never told that story. That's great.
Wow. So you come to Atlanta, and here you are in Atlanta working at the Amico. Are you still DJing? Are you getting gigs?
Yeah, I'm just meeting people. I'm doing parties at DeVry because that was kind of the connection with my friend.
Oh, the DJ of DeVry.
Yeah, man. And the girls from Barter Fashion College. Shout out to, I don't know if that's even around Atlanta.
I don't think it is anymore.
Yeah, man, it was nothing but females there. So that's how I started, house parties and at DeVry University. And then I made my way to Morris Brown.
Okay.
And then I also joined the Army National Guard Band, and I did that for like 4 years, 9 months.
Really?
Playing sax, yeah.
In the Army National, how are you in the Army National Guard
Let
Band?
me tell you, because it's a small world. I'm down here at Morris Brown doing a party with this weak equipment, and I meet an older guy named Juan Davis, who was an older DJ, but he was a full-time National Guards person.
Right.
So he said, listen, man, we can get you a new saxophone, because I was using Morris Brown, saxophone. It wasn't that great. They gave me a small scholarship. So I had a small music scholarship at Morris Brown.
Okay.
So he was like, listen, take a summer, go to basic training, which was in Fort Dix, New Jersey. Come back, and you'll get some help with your college money. It'll get you, move me out my apartment, like get me on my feet, because I was just struggling.
Right.
But I was happy. I didn't even know I was struggling. I was just whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so anyway, it just all worked out. I ended up joining the Army band, and I played in.
So
band
you joined the National Guard then?
Yeah.
Pretty much. You go to Fort Dix, New Jersey. Your first time up north?
Yes.
Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts when you first saw Fort Dix, New Jersey. Scared?
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, it wasn't my first time in the city. My first time going to the city and I was scared was with Frosty.
Okay.
So that was my first flight to New York City just to meet the label guy at Tommy Boy Records. Fort Dix, man, all I remember is that bass. That's all and basic training was hellified. I wasn't prepared. I did it. I did well, but I wasn't prepared for what I had signed up for.
What did you think you were going to get when you signed up?
I don't know. No, they didn't tell me what basic training was going to be like. Like, they didn't tell me I was going to be treated like, I can say dog shit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a podcast.
Yeah. And then when it was over, my drill sergeant just comes up to me and starts talking to me normal, and I'm freezing. I'm like, yo, he's never talked to, like, who is this person? I'm used to him yelling at us, screaming.
Right.
Never put their hands on me or nothing like that. But
call you an asshole, get this shit
man.
right. What the fuck is your problem?
Yes, man. Front lean and rest,
Right.
Front lean and rest when you're about to do a push-up, but just stay there. Front lean and rest.
And rest. For how long?
However long they just consider, might want you to do it. 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Just stay there.
Just stay there.
But did it really help you? Because you've always been in top physical condition.
Well, I was not in condition. I didn't do sports in school. I was in a band in school. I was drum major in school.
Right.
But I wasn't. But I've always been disciplined. It is my nature. So I fit right into the mode of going to bed at 7 o'clock, getting up, eating 3 times a day. I followed rules.
Right.
And so it helped me to the point when I got out of National Guard and came back to Atlanta, I was still kind of doing the same routine, waking up, doing, push-ups,
right,
eating on a certain schedule, and then I eventually laxed back into civilian life. You know what I'm saying?
What would you say was your break, Nabs?
My break was definitely doing the remix for Tennessee by Arrested Development.
Really?
Because I met Speech and Morris Brown before they got signed, and they were a group called Secret Society. And when they got their deal with Michael Malden, that's how I met Michael Malden, who's Jermaine Dupri's father. I had to see Michael to get my check for the Tennessee remix.
Okay.
And that's how I met Mike, and I gave him.
How did you end up doing the Tennessee remix?
Well, I was doing shows for Secret Society, really, and somewhere down the line, I guess.
Who was in Secret Society?
Oh.
Was it a different lineup than what Arrested Development?
Right. It was Click, Headliner, and Speech. And they really, if I have the promo photo, but the promo photo, they look like a wannabe Public Enemy.
Oh, wow.
But without the S1Ws.
Okay.
It was only 3 of them cats, right? But it was all kind of black power. I mean, Speech had a baseball cap on like Chuck D. Like, it wasn't the natural more Speech that eventually came out. And the story is that Crystal, who was the original member of TLC, which is why it was TLC before Chili, Crystal and Headliner were dating. Headliner from Arrested Development, from Secret Society. And so she made the introduction for Secret Society to Michael Malden. And Michael, now knowing Michael all these years, I can see Mike just putting a spin on the group and saying, however they came up with Arrested Development.
Right.
And then just giving it a look and a concept and a feel. Next thing I know, Speech came and brought me the song Tennessee. I heard it. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And Speech always did songs. So.
Right.
But it was something special about it. And he asked me to do a remix. Next thing I know, it's pressed up on wax.
Oh, wow.
DJ Nabs, Power to the Vinyl, remixed, 1992, whatever that date was.
Wow.
And I charged $1,000 for that remix, and I had to write an invoice and go meet Mr. Michael Malden at rehearsal. And that's how I met Mike Malden.
That's how you met Mike Malden. So what did Mike, from that meeting, what became of that meeting? And what do you think Mike saw in you in that meeting?
Well, it was a few things that came together because, again, Atlanta was really a small knit community to me at that time. I had already met Jermaine, and because Jermaine came to a club I was DJing at called Club Excess, and he came to thank me for playing his group's record, JV and the Straight Jackets. He had a song.
Whoa! Who the fuck is JV and the Straight Jackets? You taking me somewhere? Yeah. I don't know nothing about that. I know Silk Times Leather from there on.
Yeah, nah. Before Silk Times Leather, Jermaine had a deal with Ichiban, and his group was called Javier and the Straight Jackets. The album cover of Javier and the Straight Jackets looks just like, I posted this on Instagram the other day, just like that NWA cover with Dr. Dre and
Arabian Prince and all
Arabian
them.
Prince.
NWA and the Posse.
Right, it's just like that. So so it's JV and the Straight Jackets, Silk Times Leather, Skeeter Rock is there, Jermaine is there. It's a whole group of people. That was an album, and an album.
Who in the hell was in JV and the Straight Jackets?
I don't know the Straight Jackets. I don't know who they are, but I know JVN because JVN was wild.
Okay.
And so the single was The Other Guy.
Okay.
And as I said, I was in the National Guard. I was at Morris Brown. I was in the clubs. I was also mixing on the V103 for free. So this was all my little hustle. So I was playing The Other Guy on the radio. So Jermaine came to thank me for playing the song, and he had Silk Times Leather with him. And I remember this is the first thing I said to Jermaine. I said, "Can I get you a drink?" And he said, "No, I don't drink. I make beats."
Okay.
I said, "Okay, I'm gonna get you a drink. I'll be back. I don't know what you talking about. Whatever. So that's how I met Jermaine. So to get back to Mike Malden, Mike brought up Jermaine to me and said, "Yeah, Jermaine speaks about you. We got this group Kriss-Kross. We thinking maybe it might be something for you." So I was like, great, because of course I was meeting Mike and he seemed super important, and I had given him my little mixtape and my black and white photo that had DJ Nabs, the turntable instrumentalist, on it.
Right.
And that was it. Michael called me. A couple of weeks later, I was in rehearsal meeting Kriss-Kross for the first time.
Oh wow! Was there music out already?
It was, but the story I always tell about that is that I think I was just so into my own world, and I don't think I really had cable and Jump. Kriss-Kross's first single was blowing up so fast. Yeah. I just kind of looked up, and it was just a major situation. And all of a sudden, now I had the opportunity to be a DJ for them, and the Michael Jackson tour was already scheduled. Right. So everything had to move really quickly.
Everything moved really, really fast.
It moved really quickly.
Really, really fast. Yeah. Really. Do you remember, how many years did you tour with Kriss-Kross?
Yeah, 92 to 96 pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
All over the place. Yeah. And on the Michael Jackson tour.
Yep, Michael Jackson tour was the first thing for 3 months in Europe.
That was the first thing you did?
That was the first thing we did. But the first tour we did. The first thing we did was shoot a video here in Atlanta for Way of the Rhyme. Okay. It was a black and white video, and it was live. So we shot that, and then we went on tour with Michael Jackson.
How was that?
Well, the Michael Jackson tour, man. I don't even know where to start with that. That was heavy.
Where did y'all tour at?
The thing that we definitely started off in Germany. Michael was already doing the tour. Okay. It was Rosella, who was I don't know where she was from, but she wasn't from the U.S. She was the opening act. Then it was Kriss-Kross. Then it was Michael Jackson. Okay. So we did a 45-minute show, and that first show was in Germany. Rehearsal for us was in Germany. We went to London. We went to Sweden. We went to.
What is it like touring with the greatest entertainer, bar none? What is that like?
Man, first of all, as a fan, and then watching, and then as a geek, right? Watching the production of this shit was crazy. First of all, there were 2 separate production crews. So if we were in London today, the next production crew was setting up for Oslo, Norway. So that once the show was done, we would get there and the stage and everything was already done.
Same stage, same everything.
Same everything. And so then the show that was in London that we were at, they would skip Norway and go to the next facility. So this was a huge deal.
Kind of smart way of doing it, because when you and I were on tour with Kriss-Kross, they would break everything down that night, and then they would cut out. Right. And have to get in and set up for the next day.
First of all, I don't know if you remember, but this is why we used to be able to have a few extra hours in the city, because the bus might not leave till 3 o'clock because they still packing up. That's right. Because if they could just move on, we'd have been leaving every city right after the show.
Absolutely.
But another thing I remember is that Michael Jackson had a lot of decoys.
Really?
Yes, he had decoys all over the city. So you never knew where Mike was. It was just, Mike was an entertainer off the stage. So, there might be a van that speeds by and it's a white glove. Then it might be a helicopter and then it's a white glove. It's Mike. You don't know where Mike is. But, when Mike would come and actually perform for the show, they would drive him underneath the stage and let him out there. And if you remember watching the Super Bowl back then, that was during the same time as the Dangerous tour, so it kind of was the same show. Right. And he popped up from up underneath the stage. Right. So that was that Dangerous tour. performance.
Oh, wow.
So that's how he did that. And that stage went 3 different levels. So it started here in the middle, and then if he did Thriller, it would go down to like purgatory, so to speak, right? So picture that, you're watching it, and then the stage just descends as the Thriller comes on.
Oh, wow.
And it gets dark. And then after he finished Thriller, he would disappear, and then he'd be on the 3rd top doing Billie Jean, and the stage would come back down to the center.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very elaborate deal.
Who you do?
Yeah.
Elaborate is did you get to meet him?
Yes, at the very end of the tour.
The very end of the tour. So before that, you guys are touring every night for 3 months, and you never see this man.
No. Nope. Just as,
Where did you get to watch the show from?
Oh, right in the front. I watched it 17 times. With no question.
With no question.
No question.
You and the boys? Where's Kriss and them?
Kriss and them, man. Kriss and them was little weirdos, man. They were just kids, man.
They were really kids. Really, really kids.
Yeah.
They were really kids. Yeah. They were off doing whatever, flying around on them little freaking
whatever those little
motorized skateboards that we had.
Yep.
You watched the show 17.
Man, yeah.
Why?
I loved it, man. I loved it. I cried and everything sometimes. I mean, the man did heal the world, and angels coming down from like I said, it's a production, man. I mean, that's the closest thing to heaven on earth I've ever seen.
Right.
Seriously.
He's doing everything.
Everything, man. And the dude, when he would get tired, and I still gauge artists to this very day.
Uh-huh.
Whenever he got tired, then you just wouldn't hear his lead vocals no more. He didn't have lead vocals piped in to cover him up. He was just, woo! And then he'd kick a move. Like, he wouldn't get tired and stop. I mean, he would just get tired and get lost in the moment. And then he just would just let a bar or two go while he dancing and doing what he doing. And he'd come back. And I said, man, this guy who can just do anything, they could trick people any way they want to. He wants to do the show live every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he would let himself be human on stage.
Yeah. One of my favorite albums is the Jackson's Live Victory Tour album. Mm-hmm. And whenever I travel, I'll drive. If I'm driving long distance, I have to have that album in the car with me because of how incredible they sound in comparisons to their records. Michael never misses notes.
Right.
He sounds exactly the same, and he's live. All of this shit is live.
Right.
You go see a lot of people live, they're not hitting the notes. They might have a really high note. I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but if I never see Music Soul Child again in my life, I'm fine because he don't hit the fucking same high notes that he hits on the record.
Right.
But Michael never misses a note.
Right.
So tell me about meeting Michael at the end of the tour.
At the end of the tour, we finished that last show, and they ran. I say they, as in security, would guide and lead us to whatever area it might be, and no one said a word. They just led us up to this dressing room area. It was huge, and there was Mike, and he thanked us for being on the tour. And he took a picture with Kriss and Kriss first. Then he took a picture with me, Chris's mom, Sydney, security, and everybody. And I stood right beside Michael Jackson, put my arm around his shoulder, and I was like, "Dad, he's like shorter than me, just a little bit." I thought Michael was just super tall. I'm 5'11". You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was it, man. And that was it. That's how I met him. Kriss and Kriss had met him before.
Yeah.
With the Jam video.
Yeah.
But that was my first time meeting him.
Yeah,
was it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That is crazy, man. And you have such a long history of hip hop, especially in the South and in this area, of everything that you've done and things that you have documented.
Yeah.
How did you come up with where did you get this shit from?
My mother, we talked about this. When I came here, my mother told me to write a diary.
Okay.
And what I did was I did that, but it became a little bit more literal because now I had tour passes and jackets and magazines and pictures and video. Bobby Sanders some years ago gave me copies of 4 performances from the Michael Jackson Dangerous tour. I was like, oh my God, I took that, I made that digital.
Right.
Obviously, my club.
4 performances of Michael or 4 performances
of us,
of y'all,
of us on the Michael Jackson Dangerous tour. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because we didn't have it. We didn't have control like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was no camcorder, no phone, so nothing like that. It literally is a produced video shot from the house that they kept in-house. But luckily, we got that.
Right.
And just other things. And obviously, I think when you go from going to the geek side, I would say, of being a DJ, you're dealing with equipment, you're dealing with different media. And, you know, when you deal with records as in vinyl, then you go to floppy disk and you go to CDs and you go to mini disc and digital audio.
Yeah, I remember mini disc. Wow.
Right? And then you get to the Mac computer and all that, right? Which I got my first Mac 2001. Well, all I did was continue, and I'm saying this as far as being a guy inside of the So Def label. I'm the one that moves the content from old media to new media. There's not a day that goes by that somebody might not say, even Brat, Nabs, you got my old logo? Oh, yeah, it's on my phone. Bam. Because I just have stuff. And I kept it. And then I realized the importance of it a while ago. And it's even more important now because now Atlanta does have an 80s, 90s, and 2000 story of hip-hop.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's just starting to be told. And I'm a fan of hip-hop. And because I'm from Carolina and I felt like I was close enough to New York City, I've always been a fan of everything I've ever heard from Magic, from Mr. Magic to Marley Marl to the Latin Rascals, etc.
Right.
So I see that for Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like now that there's a few stories that's been put out there, but there's more that need to be told, and I'm going to make sure that I'm a part of that, that process. So, you know, I got my first book now.
Tell me about the book, bro.
The book is called Old School Sundays, The Club Kaya Experience in 96.
Now tell people who are listening or not from Atlanta, maybe from Missouri or Ohio or Oklahoma or Arkansas, Detroit, they don't know what Club Kaya is.
Right.
They never had that experience. Club closed, what, late 90s?
Closed. It changed into another club in 2003.
Okay.
To Visions.
So tell us what Club Kaya is.
You know what Kaya is? Kaya is just a snapshot of Atlanta in the mid 90s and mid to late 90s. And I compare it to Studio 54 because I wasn't there for that, and a lot of people, you know, we wasn't. But you'll see if you look at pictures of that or the documentary or the movie, you know, it's a young Barbra Streisand is portrayed there. Sylvester Stallone had just done Rocky.
Right.
Michael Jackson was just about to do Off the Wall. It's a snapshot.
Grace Jones invited Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards to Studio 54, and the guy wouldn't let them in. So they went home and wrote Chic's Cheer, which became a big hit for Faith Evans, you know,
right.
But they were just jamming, and the original was fuck Studio 54 or something like that.
Right.
And they made it chic, and then it went on to become a big hit for them, and it's all because of Studio 54. So you're saying Club Kaya is like a snapshot of Atlanta.
So Club Kaya is Ludacris as Chris Lover. As a young man trying to figure
He's
out.
on the radio. He was on the radio, and I was on the radio at the same time, and I had come off of MTV as Ed Lover, being on the radio, and was vowing no one was going to use Lover but me. Fuck that.
Wow, right.
And I heard about it, and I was like, I'm going to send this kid a cease and desist letter to stop using that Lover.
That's funny. I never knew that.
And for something, something just told me don't do it. You know, something like he's in Atlanta. He's not a threat to you.
Right.
You're in New York. He's not even on the same level as you are at that time. So I just left it alone. And I'm glad I did because me and Ludacris are really good people right now.
Right.
I'm glad I ain't try to shit on him back in the days.
You shut him down.
I mean? Yeah.
So Atlanta is that. Atlanta's Jay-Z coming here on the Hard Knock Life tour. It's the Young Bloods almost getting booed. And this is captured on video. This is not just me talking about it because I documented and had my club night documented very well. So in the book, it shares that, and there's the audio recordings that go along with the book, so you can read the book and hear the book.
Okay.
And then there's a documentary piece that goes along with that. So it's just a great moment in my life because it was my way of taking a club and making it the lab and envisioning and doing it in the way that I saw Michael Jackson do. That's the way I used to always describe him. The owners of that club let me put a stage up
on Sunday night.
Dancers on Sunday night. They let me just do my thing, bring the acts that I love. So I brought Sugar Hill Gang, Run DMC. I brought, again, this is the 90s, so I'm celebrating the 80s, Houdini, right? Poor Righteous, the Poor Righteous was the 90s. But then at some point it got so hot, I started to get the Jay-Z's and the Redman and Method Mans performing.
Automatically.
For free.
Okay.
And then, and as you can imagine, all the artists that would just come in and show love.
Right.
So, you know, I just told the story of it, the rise and fall of a great club night and experience in Atlanta that you can see and hear. Really.
What do you think was the down? Why did it end? Why do you think it ended? Well, do you think it's part of it? We were going into a brand new,
I mean, nothing lasts.
new decade.
Different reasons. I mean, I got fired in the top of '99.
For what?
I got fired. The reasoning in the paper by Mary Catherine, who fired me, was
she fired you too, huh?
Yeah, she fired me too.
All right,
There's a whole
got
club
that in
of
common.
There's a whole club of us for that.
Yeah, Mary Catherine Sneed.
Yes.
Who was the COO of Radio 1 at the time.
Right.
Yes.
She said I had too much going on because I had a record deal with Columbia Records at the time, and Club Kaya was my own promotion.
Uh-huh.
And my contract came up. They let me go, and they replaced In the Lab with Nabs with In the Kingdom with Emperor Cersei. And so I ended up doing a Kaya for another year. And then at that time, V103 brought Frank Ski in to do the morning show.
Uh-huh.
So they worked out a Friday night with Frank Ski. And then this also started to become the rise of AG Entertainment. So AG Entertainment ended up buying Club Kai and turning it into Visions.
Okay.
So just different things happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Things like that happen all the time. I didn't know you were fired by Mary Catherine Sneed also.
Yeah, man. I've been at that company. Radio 1, this last time was my third time at Radio 1.
Your third time. This is my second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve Hegwood was there at the time, and Mary Catherine Sneed,
Right.
and I was on in Los Angeles. They bought the station The Beat in Los Angeles.
Right.
And they came over, and I remember Alfred Liggins coming in, and we had a meeting, and he said all of these great things about everything that was going to happen with Radio 1 Los Angeles and blah, 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 and all of these people on the conference room. And he goes, are there any questions? And I think there was one question about something, and then somebody said something nice about him, and I raised my hand, and he said, yeah. And I said, well, these people are afraid to ask you, but I'm going to ask you, are you going to make any personnel changes? Because these people here got jobs and families, and they want to know are they going to keep their job.
Right.
What's going to happen? So, he gave the politically correct answer, and I can tell I pissed him off, but I didn't give a fuck. But he gave the politically correct answer, and then Steve Hegwood came in and Mary Catherine Sneed. I remember we had a breakfast meeting on Sunset Boulevard with my manager, Dre. Dre and I were together then in L.A. on the radio. And they were like, we're not going to make any changes. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. And we worked a couple of weeks, and then we went on vacation. And then we came back, worked one more week, and got called in and told that we were being let go. Wow. And I still had another year on my contract.
Right.
I had a guaranteed contract for 2 years.
Right.
At $800,000 a year.
Man, radio will make you tough,
Yeah. As you know, I'm unemployed right now.
Right. Hashtag.
So back to hashtag unemployed day 12.
Right.
So, that's back to Radio 1 again, which you and I were both on Boom 102.9, which they totally fucked up.
Yeah, man.
Totally fucked it up.
That shit was special.
It was very special. They totally fucked it up. And I think they know. I think in their hearts of hearts they know. But I understand the way business works. So a lot of times I don't worry about it too much because I know for them to change the station and to bring in Tom Joyner in the morning don't cost them any money. To keep you and I costs money.
Right.
And I understand that. But we had a great thing that could have been super special, and they fucked it up.
Yeah, man.
They absolutely fucked it up. And I'm going to say this, and I really don't care who doesn't like it. But as a man, I have to speak my mind. I have to live in my truth as per Sherry Riley. People who are not of our culture, who are not there, who wasn't at Club Kaya, who wasn't DJing in Raleigh-Durham, who wasn't listening to Flash, learning how to make it go, make it say what you wanted to say.
Right.
People who didn't tour with Kriss-Kross. People who didn't see the Brat at her inception. You remember when I brought the Brat onto the stage and introduced it to Jermaine?
Yeah.
Those people have no rights to program hip-hop music on any fucking level. No right. I don't care how good of a programmer you are. You don't understand the music. And you should acquiesce to people who are not programmers but understand the music. Yeah. And you should teach them the analytics of what they need to know in order to do a better job, but let them do it. Step out of the way and let them do it because there is no reason why Classic rock can work and classic hip hop can't.
Right.
And the reason classic hip hop doesn't is because you program it like you're programming a Hot 97 or a Hot 107.9.
Right.
It should be a jukebox. You should never know what you're getting ready to hear.
Right. Right.
And that's how they fuck up every station.
Right. We're talking about decades of music.
Of music.
Yeah.
That's how they fuck up. There was a station in New York before Power 105 flipped, and I'll say this real quick, and then we're going to talk some boxing, called Jammin' 105. And when I was living in California, you know, my kids were still in New Jersey, so I had to come home all the time to see Zaya and Summer, my two youngest. And I used to listen to the station. I'd be like, damn, they killing it. They got Frankie Beverly and Maze. They got Earth, Wind, and Fire. They got that. And then it became monotonous. It became, do you remember, every 15, 20 minutes?
Right.
Like, you're not doing those songs any justice by making a 30-song playlist out of it. And that's what they did with classic hip-hop with you and I.
Right.
They made a 30, 35-song playlist, and it was over and over and over. And I remember sitting with you in the studio, and you and I and Krista, who's the executive producer here on the Come On Son, the podcast, sitting there going, why are we not playing this? Why are we not playing this? And why are we not playing this? And I remember you making a list and going to the program director and Jay Stevens, who's the executive, I don't even know what his title is, and like, why are we not playing these? And they're going, we're playing the hits according to who?
Right. Right.
According to who? They have no right to program or be involved in any aspect of our music unless you helping us promote it. That's it. Other than that, go fucking sit down somewhere.
Right.
We understand that you spent your life as a programmer, and with all due respect, we respect that. We respect the successes that you've had as a programmer. But I used to play whatever video I wanted to play on your MTV Raps. Right. I used to walk into a meeting every Thursday, me, Dre, and Ted, half the time Freddie when he would show up. And we would program Fab Show, and then we would program our entire week of shows.
Right.
Every Thursday, we sat, God rest his soul, Ted Demi, we sat in his office. They gave us that much respect to say, y'all know what y'all doing. We don't know this hip-hop shit. Y'all do. Go ahead and program this shit.
Right.
So why do I have to always acquiesce to a program director who didn't live this shit? And then when it gets fucked up, they blame it on us.
Right.
I'm sorry, Nabs. You had that motherfucker smash.
Right. Well, you know.
Little promotional money.
Right.
We could have been something special.
Right.
But that's the way it goes all the time.
Yeah, man.
It's always somebody that doesn't have anything to do with it. Like, you have this archive of all this great shit. You knew Ludacris before he was Ludacris.
Right.
You know, you remember Luda. Tell me the story of Luda doing the Fat Monkey. What was the name of the song?
I did Fat Rabbit.
Fat Rabbit.
Yeah,
right.
So Chris's deal was a couple of things happened. You know, Kriss started doing promos for me. And I think he interned for Ryan first, but as an MC, because I had one foot in the music business and one foot in radio.
Right.
So I used to be like, man, this boy can rap. So he'd do my Fat 7 at 7 promos, or Kriss would also do commercials for me, where he'd be rapping and creating songs. And Timberland, I interviewed Timberland one day at Hot 97 on Old National Highway, and Shaka was managing Kriss, and I'm sure they just made that connection. But Timberland heard Kriss rhyme on my show, and I just think they took it from there, and they ended up doing the Fat Rabbit song. At the same time, or somewhere right about the same time, I got my record deal with Columbia Records, and I put Kriss on a song with Jagged Edge, and also in the music video that we shot at Kaya, which is also part of the story.
Right.
Which is a song called Is It You? So Jagged Edge featuring Ludacris. And so those were the two things that was out there, and I think Kriss also did something with Tony Draper's label. But, you know, everybody still, to me, for Kriss to have to do his own independent thing and then be on Def Jam, it really meant people overlooked him. Right.
Yeah,
here in
absolutely.
Atlanta. So you know,
the same thing with 50.
Yeah, yeah, he was overlooked.
People in New York overlooked 50. Yeah. I don't know what it was. I don't know if they thought at that time that Irv had so much power over at Def Jam that they wasn't going to fuck with this dude. But I'm living in L.A. at the time, and my daughter is in the same homeroom class. My oldest daughter, Tiffany, and Lloyd Banks are in the same homeroom class at August Martin High School. Funny shit is, I find out later, Lloyd Banks' mom and I were in the same homeroom class at August Martin High School. Damn. Right? So,
right.
And she's getting all of these mixtapes and all this G-Unit shit, and G-Unit is fucking buzzing. And nobody in New York would touch it. I mean, the Trackmasters touched it first.
Right.
But then once he got into them, he had them problems with Supreme and he got shot 9 times, nobody would touch it. It took Eminem to hear a mixtape to bring him to the West Coast to Dre and them.
Right.
For 50 to blow up, that's a damn shame.
Right.
So that means Atlanta wasn't doing what they're supposed to do if Ludacris ended up on Def Jam.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
No how, no way.
Yeah.
That means Jermaine overlooked him, but Jermaine overlooked fucking Nelly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't Cuda bring Nelly to Jermaine?
That's what I heard.
That's what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Jermaine slept on shit. I slept on shit. Tell me the worst thing you think. Worst records you think you ever somebody played for you and you was like, this shit is bullshit. And
I can tell you now, College Park always get on me about this one record, but I do got a real reason for it.
All right.
He gets on me about the Wait record by Yin Yang Twins.
Okay.
Wait till you see this.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you why. This is the MP3 era. I was sitting there on my laptop. He sent it to me. I listened to it on my laptop. I couldn't feel the bass. I just couldn't even hear this shit. I was like, I mean, imagine listening to that record on a laptop speaker, right? There's no bass there. So I didn't hear it. I said, yeah, it's whatever, man. Whatever. I told him whatever. I just said, I ain't whatever. And he held that against me.
Oh, absolutely.
Not like in a real mean way, but just a joke.
Well, that's one of the ones you slept on.
Yeah, I would say so.
I slept on Get At Me Dog by DMX. Now, think about the era I'm from.
Right.
I'm from the era where you don't take the same beat. Remember, Light had a record, Beat by the Dope Style Taker. You didn't sound like nobody, and you didn't use a beat. If the beat was used, you didn't touch it.
Right.
Right? So when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's Knick Knack Paddywhack. EPMD? Right, EPMD already. I'm like, what is this? Why is he barking? What the fuck? And Michael Kaiser, Senior Vice President of Black Music at fucking Atlantic, played DMX for me because that's what Michael Kaiser's role was at Def Jam at the time.
Right.
He would come to the radio and play music. So Fat Man Scoop did the same thing for Tommy Boy. So he came in, he played, he took me in the studio. We already had, and I mean, I heard it on great speakers.
Right.
I was like, man, this motherfucker out of here, this barking and all this shit is fucking whack. And he never let me live that shit down. I slept on X's first record.
Wow.
Slept like a baby on that motherfucker.
Yeah, now we was here and that shit was popping.
Yeah.
And he came and did Birthday Bash 3.
Uh-huh.
And did that in Rough Riders Anthem for the first time.
Fondest memory of Kriss-Kross?
Maybe because I look at it a lot. Arsenio always felt special.
Okay.
As a group and what we were back then. And then my fondest memory really of Chris Kelly, who, we spent years together as friends, is him with me at Kaya. During the Kaya time, the Kriss-Kross thing had slowed down.
Okay.
But Chris was older now.
Yeah.
Chris was driving a big body Benz, and he always showed up with some big booty girl at the
club. They made a shitload of money, man.
Yeah, man.
Two boys made a shit ton of. I made money. Yeah. I made a great amount of money touring with Kriss-Kross. Bobby used to come and put that money in my hand every fucking night. And I paid Wild Style and I paid Todd. I made money. So I can imagine what the fuck they was making on that tour.
Chris, yeah.
There was me and Nabs toured both with Kriss-Kross, him as their DJ, me as their opening act. I think it happened when they were in New York and Farside was late.
Yep.
Yeah, and I went out and wasted some time. So Mike and Jermaine were like, hey, can you do this for us every night? And I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. And I went on tour with them, and Nabs and I were on tour with them, and we were the oldest dudes on the tour.
Right.
So sometimes Jermaine would come, but to us, Jermaine was still young.
Jermaine was like 17, 18.
Yeah, he was still a kid to me.
Yeah.
He was a kid. So it was Nabs, myself, DJ Wild Style, and Todd One. We're really the oldest dudes on the tour, which we dubbed the NP tour. Oh, besides Lights people.
Right.
Besides Lights, security, and older dudes like that. But it was really us. We had what we called the house gang because we were allowed to be on Kriss-Kross's tour bus. So Todd, myself, and Wild Style would be on the same bus with Nabs and Chris, and sometimes Jermaine and Donna,
right,
and Sydney and everybody who's on that tour. It's like 12 or 14 bunks on that. So we all on the same tour bus. I didn't have to get a bus or fly anything. I just rolled with them,
right,
everywhere. So we were a house gang. And I don't remember what Lights crew was called, but we had fights with them and throw water balloons and stupid shit and water gun fights and all that. Well, Nabs and myself and Todd and Wild Style and those guys and Sydney was off making sure he did whatever he did. We were always looking for something to do. in every city that we went to.
Yeah,
We used to
man.
call it the NP tour. It was, NP stood for no pussy, because right now, because the mothers would come and they would bring their kids. But after the show, you'd be like, yeah, get my number. We're going to hang out tonight. Then they got to take their kid home. Then you got to hope that somebody want to come back and hang out with you. So there was many nights of Nabs and myself and the rest of us just.
Look, though, I got to add this part, though. One thing about that whole Kriss-Kross thing for me personally was that it put me from just, local DJing in Atlanta to being around all these stars and celebrities on a regular basis, because everybody brought their kids to see Kriss-Kross. So I got to see everybody backstage. Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
The different world crew and folks, Bill Cosby show, so I'm still in awe of everything. Being on tour with Ed was cool because Ed was a celebrity too, and he was grown. And I could hang with Ed, because hanging with Kriss and Kriss, they were kids. All we do is go to the mall and run, and security would just block us in, but it wasn't like hanging out with
Going
Ed
to the mall with
in a nightclub.
Going to the mall at the height of Jump with Kriss and Kriss was some otherworldly shit.
They would shut Six Flags down, first of all, with no problem anywhere, just for us to go ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that with Mariah Carey, too, though. Mariah Carey used to buy out the park, and we just go ride with Mariah. Mariah was crazy like that. But with Kriss and Kriss, they always wanted to fucking go to the mall. Let's go to the mall. Let's go to the mall.
Why? We can't shop.
Right. We can't do shit, because soon as y'all get, you get through the doors and maybe 10 steps, and then there's fucking pandemonium. It's over. From grown people to young people. And this is the day of the two-way. So imagine now with the camera phones. This shit should be. But my favorite Chris Kelly moment was Chris had a girl in his room, and I was right next door, and he knocked on the door. And I opened the door. I said, Chris, what? You got a condom? I think that was his virginity too.
Yeah,
that was my finest memory of Chris Kelly, just being on that tour and hanging around with these dudes, man. You got to come back, because we got to talk boxing.
Sure, man.
Because we're running out of time.
Okay.
But I want to know. I got time. Yeah, you got 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes. Tell me, when did you get into boxing, bro?
I got into boxing 7 years ago.
Okay.
A friend of mine from Charlotte, DJ T-Love, called me about a celebrity boxing match. And the joke was, because he remembers me from my Hennessy drinking days, he was like, just have a flashback moment and just do it for charity. And I was like, who am I going to be fighting? And he mentioned the guy from the actor, the football player from the show The Game. I can't think of his name right now. But the football guy. So I was like,
we're not talking Pooch Hall, are we?
Yeah, Pooch Hall. No, I think it's the other guy.
Okay.
But a well-built brother.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, man, he got a bunch of muscles, man. I don't know about that. He was like, no, it's going to be charity, blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, give me a minute to think about it. He said, it's going to be $5,000. I said, oh, okay, I'll do it. so my publicist got really worried, and she called around, and I ended up meeting.
You talking about Hosea?
Hosea.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. And so I ended up meeting Xavier Biggs at the boxing gym later that night. And he explained to me that it's not about muscles. It's punching power. And he put me through a couple little light combinations or whatever, and said I was a natural. And I start training that night.
Oh, wow.
And so the match was going to be 30 days of training, and then you go do the 3 rounds, 3 2-minute rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Jose ended up not doing it. The fight ended up being Darren Henson and RL from Next, and it's on YouTube.
Oh, so you didn't even fight?
Well, because there was an age, I was too old to fight them, so they had me as a stand-in. Because those guys was like 35 and I was like 40.
Okay.
Something like that. So I ended up not doing that fight, but I was there as a stand-in. And so Darren Henson won that fight easily. Yeah, he won that fight. But that's when I watched that, though, I said, no, you got to take this serious. I already took it serious, but I took it even more serious because I didn't want that to be me.
What happened in that fight?
Well, I just think that, RL and I trained together.
Uh-huh.
And Darren trained where he was in L.A. So, again, I was a stand-in. So, me and RL actually sparred. And I'm saying sparred because we didn't know what we was doing.
Right.
Right? And there was just sometimes I know he just didn't come. And there were just, there were just certain things.
Oh, RL didn't come.
Yeah,
Okay.
there were certain things that Big would suggest that he do, but he didn't necessarily do it. And I think he took it. He talked a lot of stuff, a lot of junk, and built up for the fight, which was great. And I think he went in there with the idea that it was going to be a little bit more fun and games. And I think Darren was just more prepared to fight, and so it just wasn't a good look.
So it's pretty lopsided.
I think so.
Okay.
And because I ended up getting a respirator in the ring.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, worn the fuck out then.
Yeah, I just don't think he was prepared for that. And Darren is a dancer and
right.
He's it's cardio and all. So I took it very serious, even more serious after that, and I ended up doing my first fight 6 months later.
And who did you fight?
A guy named Ali, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. He's a little wild cat, but I won that. And then I did another fight a year later, and I won that one. And then I did another fight, and I lost that one by points.
Okay. Do you remember who you fought when you lost?
Yeah, his name is Lloyd. His name is Lloyd. He's from New Orleans. I can't think of his last name. They had him in there. He was a 2-time Golden Glove champ. Had 40-something fights.
Damn.
Yeah.
Is this a charity? Supposed to be a charity boxing match?
Well, this was at the mansion, so this one was not a charity fight. This was we were the only amateurs on a pro card.
Okay.
Because even the pros, some of the pros, Adrian Bronner was there at that fight, and
right.
and the heavyweight champ from Alabama. But yeah.
Deontay Wilder?
Deontay Wilder was there. So it was a big deal. And it was all pro fights. So people were getting knocked out for the first 3 fights, then they switched to the officials and let the amateurs come in there. So we come in there with our little headgear.
Right.
To do this little amateur bout. So we brought the energy down,
Okay.
But it was still kind of a celeb driven thing. I had Brat bring me out, so it was still cool, but it was just funny to go from somebody getting knocked out cold to, here comes the amateur fight real quick. You know what I mean? Which was me and the guy Lloyd.
I don't know if he still fights now, but who was really heavily into boxing for a while was Willie D from the Ghetto Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a Golden Glove champion, too.
Yeah, I heard that. We talked about that a little bit before because him and Melly Mel having that fight.
Yeah.
That celebrity fight back in the day.
Yeah, back in the days. And then he went pro for a minute.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He went pro because he fought when I was doing the ring announcing on the HBO show. HBO had a boxing show that I was involved with for a while. And Willie D fought on the undercard. I think it was a Winky Wright Bronco McCart fight.
Okay.
And he fought on the undercard. He got totally annihilated.
Okay.
Knocked straight out, like done.
Right.
Done. I felt so bad that I went back to say, good fight or whatever. I don't know what to say to somebody when they get knocked out cold.
Right.
I remember them giving Willie smelling salts, and he jumped up like, I'm ready. And they was like, Willie, the fight's over, bro. He got creamed like out.
Right.
So I understand it. Give me your top 5 DJs.
Top 5. I'm always going to want to give it up to Kid Capri. I think he's kind of like the James Brown of DJ. I mean,
right.
Dude.
As a party rocker.
Yeah, man, as a party rocker. He's just, he contributed a lot to the mixtape game, influenced a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
DJ Scratch is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Dang. Help me.
Is it tough?
Well, it's tough because there's so many DJs I like, but there are DJs that were pioneers that influenced me heavily in the beginning, but they may not be the right now.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what makes it tough. But I would say my style, and I'm just going to say it, my style was developed off of Jazzy Jeff, Mixmaster Ice, Grand Mixer DST.
Okay.
Pretty much. But see, now I'm skipping Jay, and now I'm skipping Flash, which, see, I still follow Flash to this day.
Okay.
As far as, here's a guy who's Flash in his 60s, right?
Yeah.
Man, and Flash is doing the books and licensing his image and telling his stories. And so for a guy who I watched, who I learned how to scratch by emulating him, I'm still emulating him now, saying, okay, I got to do my book. Or I want to do my story.
Right.
I want to help influence and share things that people did not witness. I want to correct history where it has been mistaken. You know what I mean? So Flash is huge on that list.
Okay.
For that reason,
right,
alone, just being a continuing influence for me
And Jam Master Jay?
And Jam Master Jay is the ultimate showman, man. And I want to be Jam Master Jay. I want to be Jam Master Jay, and all my young pictures of me DJing is me trying to dress like Jam Master Jay. Full Adidas outfit on. I may not have had Adidas on. You know, my paper was funny like that.
Yeah, paper was funny.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to leave.
So, Kid Capri, Grandmaster Flash, Jam Master Jay.
Yep.
Mix Master, Jazzy Jeff.
Jazzy Jeff.
Who's still a fucking amazing.
Yeah, man.
Oh, my God.
Right.
He's such an amazing DJ. Top 5 boxers.
Top 5 boxers.
'Cause we know you love the sport.
Yeah. A lot of people. Lomachenko is killing it right now. Lamont Peterson, first time I ever saw him, he got knocked out. And it's crazy, but he's on my list. Because after that, I watched him even more and more. And I'm like, yo, he's a hell of a body puncher. He changed the way I went to the gym and hit the heavy bag watching him. Of course, Muhammad Ali is just the greatest, Capricorn. He's such a major influence. I mean, and I'm saying that because I still watch his fights.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm still.
Where do you put Iron Mike in there?
Yeah, Iron Mike. I think I did cry when he lost to Holyfield. That's how much I love Mike.
Right.
And I love Mike even more now. I love his spirit when I see him. See, again, this boxing is about as hard as.
Yeah, because there's so many different eras.
Right.
Of boxing.
Yeah.
And it's like hip hop and DJs. I think you have to put, like, when people say your top 5 MCs of all time, I don't think you can do that. Yeah. I think you got to put people who were ruling during their era.
Right.
Like, there was DJs that was ruling during their era. Like, if you go back to Flash's era, then you have to say Flash. You probably got to put DJ Hollywood in there.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
That's from that era. And then you move on to the next era. Then you go to when Kid Capri, Ron G, all of these dudes was rocking, and then you move on to the next era and the next era and the next era. And the same thing with boxing.
Yeah.
Same thing. You can't, tough. You know, because if you say Floyd Mayweather Jr. and don't say Sugar Ray Robinson.
Well, you see, I got a Sugar Ray Robinson shirt on right now.
Right.
We train in that gym under the philosophy of how he danced and fought.
Right. A man who can knock you out with both hands.
Yeah.
Very rare that you find that.
And the reason for that is because of his legs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, the power comes from the ground. Like, you take the greatest boxer, put him in zero gravity, he can't do nothing.
Right.
Power comes from the ground, your legs, up to your body, to your hands.
Right. So you can't. So a lot of people you would say. So where do you put Floyd? Top 10? Yeah, you guys. There's a lot of people in there. Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns.
Yeah, I can't see. I mean, Sugar Ray Leonard,
Marvin Hagler,
crazy man.
Willie Pep.
Right.
You know,
Willie Pep is literally a move that we do in the gym.
Really?
If I'm in there sparring, Big say do the Willie Pep, move your head.
Right. Joe Frazier. Why we forget Joe Frazier?
See, again.
Although Ali ruled supreme, Joe Frazier was a monster in the ring. George Foreman was a monster in the ring.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather, man.
Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Rocky Marciano.
What's my man though? Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson.
Ghost of Jack Johnson in the house.
Right. The ghost of Jack Johnson in the building. So how could you say? I mean, like, you got to go eras. You can't. I don't think there is a top.
Yeah. It's tough.
It's tough.
I mean, it's too many.
Right. It is too many. What's what's this man? Tito Trinidad was a beast, too.
Yeah.
He was a beast. The Hitman was a beast. That whole Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, Hands of Stone.
Roberto Duran.
That era right there, oh, my God.
Yeah, man.
Oh, my God.
My trainer, Xavier Biggs, his favorite fighter is Roberto Duran. That's why it was ironic that he trained, we didn't talk about that, but he trained Usher for the movie.
He did.
Yeah.
Usher did a great job.
Yeah. He trained in our gym.
When I saw Usher after that, I told him you did a great job at Sugar Ray Leonard. The mannerisms, the blinking, the talking. Yeah, the blinking, the talking. Yeah. He did a great job training him for that. Usher looked like he knew what he was actually really
he loved it. Usher put a ring in his gym after that.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, he put a ring in his house.
In his house?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's next for DJ Nabs, bro?
Let me see. You know, I'm continuing to work and spin. I fly to Istanbul tonight, and I'm going to spend most of the year promoting my book and preparing for another book. And I'm doing my boxing training. I'm teaching people jabs and nabs with Nabs at Decatur Boxing Club. And as far as like really that DJing and that music, man, I want to continue to just do and be places where I want to be more than
where you have to be.
Where I have to be. And so I think I've been lucky. You know what I mean? Even with Boom, with this last stint on the radio, I came when I wanted and I left when I wanted.
Right.
And I love that, and that's why I want to keep trying to move like that.
Absolutely.
And not have to be any place because somebody says, "Oh, you need the job." That's some bullshit.
That's what we're talking about. Transitioning to a point where you're your own boss.
Yeah.
And you do it just because you love it, not because you have to.
Right.
Right. You take a gig, so I'll take that gig. I want to do that. I don't want to do that one.
Right.
That's a good place to be in.
Yeah.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, man, for having
me, man.
I love
DJ
you,
Nabs in the building, man. Y'all remember to keep God first. Everything else will fall into place. We'll talk at you, with you, to you, and about that ass next week. Be good if you can. Be good. Be careful if you can. Be careful. Take a boxing lesson, all right?
Wow.
Till the next time we ride together, slide together, laugh out loud together. Ed Lover, Baby Bucket, Krista, and Kimana saying God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for tuning us in and never tuning us out. And always remember, I give you the good shit and not the bullshit. Right here on Come On, Son, the podcast. Come on, son. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Peace out, y'all. This Ed Lover podcast is being done in conjunction with Cigars International. Make sure you check out cigarsinternational.com for all your cigar needs.
This episode of Come On, Son, the podcast is produced and engineered by co-executive producers Kimana Paulus and Krista Hayes. Recorded at Mean Street Studios in downtown Atlanta, Georgia. This is an official Loudspeakers Network podcast.